of course, Erin is here today, and we've got Gabriella Villar here. Gabriella, great to meet you. Welcome to that channel.
Thank you.
So let's, now you've got a master's degree in counseling and psychology, right?
Yep.
And you've been in the business, you've been practicing.
In the field.
In the field since 2003, right? Yep. So, first of all, tell us, just give us a summary of the kind of work that you do.
Well, I work with people from, I don't know, like different backgrounds and different problems. Right now, like what I'm seeing a lot is people with depression.
Depression.
And, but depression goes along with anxiety and goes along with a lot of problems that are triggering the depression itself.
Yeah.
Right. So, as I said, like could be, problems with family, problems, I don't know, because they lost their job, because somebody died, all sorts of problems.
Maybe it could even be the smart meters, right? The smart meters are sending them bad vibes.
Oh, yeah, like depression is the end result of a whole lot of other issues in life. Mm.
Okay.
Life stuff.
Well, yeah. So how, I mean, normally when people, the way people get treated for depression these days seems to be pharmaceutical drugs, right? What do you
not
think?
really.
I mean, normally when people, the way people get treated for depression these days seems to be pharmaceutical drugs, right? What do you think?
Not really.
No?
Well, to tell you the truth, most of the people that I see are already on medication. That doesn't mean that they're already done with the depression at all.
Right.
Right. The medication can work for some people just by itself. Most people do need counseling of some sort, and there are many kinds of treatments. And that's why I work in a holistic way. We can talk about that later. But there are many ways to approach a problem. It's not one way.
Right.
There are many ways.
So so would you say that often you would suggest a more natural way versus prescription? Because it does really seem like the way. And I mean, we all have people in our lives. People go to the doctor, they're not feeling well, they come back with a prescription.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole dilemma, do I want to do this or not? And others just go ahead and take it. They don't question it.
Exactly. Now, that's very, very personal. And it's hard. Like, I don't think any professional can tell you, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get better, or you have to do this. Like, unless it's something like really, well, when they are, I don't know, thinking about terminate their lives or things like that, and when it's very extreme, I would highly suggest medication, to have something, quickly working. Now, that doesn't mean that just because you're taking the drug, then life is going to look good and you're going to be fine. You can work from the cognitive way, that's the typically cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. And then there's hypnotherapy, there's NLP, there's something that I do that is called Biofeedback.
Do you do biofeedback too? Because I know you do the hypnotherapy and
NLP, yeah.
And
NLP.
how does that work?
Biofeedback, you put a sensor on your hand, and that picks up, I don't know that, I can't tell you really the technology behind it, but I can tell you what it does, right? Because I'm not, technical in that sense. But what it does is somehow it picks up how you are feeling, if you're relaxed or not, right? Like that's, I think, is an electrical way of sending the information, right? So it's called biofeedback because you get the sensor and then you get to hear from headphones or from the screen, right, how you're doing. So you can, there's some ways to use it is just with sounds. So you hear the sound changing as you're calming down or you are getting more anxious. And you also have a kind of like video games where you have to reach certain thing, right, depending on the game that you're playing. And that game is going to move along as you calm down. So the good thing about that is that you get to see on the screen or you're hearing how you're doing, and sometimes that makes it a lot easier for you to get the figure right away of how you're doing, right? But because those kind of things usually are kind of unconscious, like it's not that easy for you to pick up exactly what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But when you see it, then you say, okay, well, see, now I'm doing better. So you're getting the figure right away of how you're doing, and that's a way for you to learn how to control it, right?
Right. Okay. That's great. So anxiety. Let's talk about anxiety, because there's a new illness out there called social anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
It used to be
That's
called
only one.
shyness, but now it's an illness.
Well, yeah, we can make a difference about that. Like, yeah, being shy is one thing. Social anxiety is way completely different. And let me
Okay.
explain what it's more
Okay.
or less all about.
Is it? But before we get to that, is
Yeah.
that just a kind of anxiety? Like
This is just one kind.
one kind. So let's talk about anxiety in general.
Okay.
Like,
So
it sounds like, that's just something people are. I'm anxious or whatever. But
Exactly.
It could be. You're saying it can be a serious problem.
yeah,
Do you want to sort of describe what
yeah.
you mean by anxiety?
Yeah, exactly. So, anxiety itself is not a bad thing and can help you sometimes prepare better. Let's say that you're anxious about a test or you're anxious about your first date, right? That is going to help you, to prepare better for the event, right? So as long as it's under control and it's helping you, it's a good thing. Now, the problem is that in many cases, we're talking about 18% of the population in North America, which is a big number, are having anxiety problems. And the problem is when this anxiety is big enough to make you stop doing what you need to do in life. Say you need to, let's say you really look for, I don't know, you want a job, right? Like you really have a dream job or something, and that job is involves that you have to travel, you have to take a plane to go places, right? And you have a big anxiety around flying,
Yeah.
right? So that's going to stop you to accept that job. So basically, it's stopping you to go to do the things that you want to do in life only because of anxiety. So that's when
So it
it's
seems
a
a little
problem.
fear-related,
Yeah.
though, because, I mean, in general, 'cause often, like, people don't get a certain way unless they're afraid of it, right?
Yeah. So in some cases, that is what is called phobias, what you're saying about fear, but there are other ones. There are some of them that are related to a specific trauma, like post-traumatic stress disorder. So that means that, let's say that you went through a car accident or you had like a big, you went to work, that's the typical example, right? Then because of that trauma, then things trigger you, and then, so it's not a specific fear, right? Like as you're saying, like let's say dog or fly or water. It's just or panic attacks. Like all of a sudden you're on the street and you start to
Right.
feel anxious and you're shaking and you're sweating and your heart goes very fast and
That
you feel
sounds
like
like
you
a
cannot
problem.
breathe.
That's something that's obviously a problem.
It's obviously a problem.
But that's what I'm trying to understand. Sorry, like,
Yeah.
to me, that's what I meant by fear. I don't mean a specific fear, but more the fact that where's that anxiety coming from? What's feeding it? Why would people even have to have it?
Yeah, so it really depends on what is the disorder or the issue that you are facing, right? So in some cases it's related to a trauma. Some cases it's just that in some cases when one is called generalized anxiety disorder. It's basically somebody that is worried all the time and is thinking of the worst all the time, like thinking that things are going to go really bad, So there's a tendency of underestimating your ability to cope and overestimating the risk of what's going on.
Right.
Really, for instance, let's say the elevator, right? Some people, like, they are very extremely afraid. Like something as simple as taking an elevator for some people is like a huge deal, right? They won't go in because they think that, okay, if I go there, I'm gonna have a heart attack because I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna die because I'm gonna get this anxiety attack, and So it really depends on what is the situation for the person.
Right.
So